Mike Perry's brawl with Julian Lane has left a sour taste in his mouth. But the good thing for Perry is he'll get a chance to settle his score with Lane when they square off February 19th at BKFC Knucklemania 2. During a conversation with the commentary team at BKFC Fight Night Tampa in December, Perry was hit in the face by a bunch of cards that Lane threw his way, and a brawl ensued. Perry admits he wasn't in the best headspace as he took the time to revisit the incident in a recent interview with MMA Junkie. "I guess I was ready throughout the night, but when they brought me over, I had a few drinks that night, so I wasn't fully clear-headed and wasn't totally sober. I tried to drink some water before I went over there to do the interview. I tried to take some deep breaths and be like, oh man, I've got to try to sober up. And I don't know, he threw those cards at me. Whatever, bro. This situation kinda pisses me off still, I guess, but we're gonna get our chance. I'm gonna get my chance to fight him fair and square, no guardrail. I'll be able to control the space and distance, and we'll see how it works out. He's got experience in bare knuckle, but I think I've got experience in being a better fighter. It just comes down to getting in there and doing it. I'm ready for that, so fuck that guy, bro. He pissed me off with that. The response that I received on the internet was pretty good. It benefited me. It still pissed me off. Whatever. People know the let me bang bro moment on The Ultimate Fighter. It's hilarious. He's a little crybaby. It's funny to me. I don't know if anyone wants to really fight a bum. You want to fight the biggest names in the game. During a recent episode of his podcast, Brendan Schaub reacted to Dana White explaining why he didn't present the belt to Francis Ngannou at UFC 270. He said the following: "Dana's ego is his one downfall. Not giving Francis the belt just makes it harder for you during the negotiations. He was being a sore loser. He said, 'I'm not putting the belt on him,' and ran into the back. I think an advisor behind the scenes for Dana and the UFC told him he needed to come up with an excuse for why he didn't give Francis the belt, because he looked like an asshole, and they didn't want him adding more fuel to the fire. The UFC don't realize who they're dealing with. With the mental strength that Francis has, he has gone through shit that Dana cannot even imagine. You think you can disrespect him and not put the belt around him? Are you out of your goddamn mind? And this isn't me shitting on Dana. It's me saying that his ego is trouble. Put your fucking ego aside, because you owe the fans the fights that they want to see." It's Marvin Vettori or bust for Paulo Costa next in the UFC. The one-time middleweight contender, who lost back-to-back fights to Israel Adesanya and Vettori inside the octagon, has only one bout remaining on his contract with the UFC, and he isn't interested in re-signing before completing his current deal. For Costa's next assignment, which he guarantees is taking place at 185 pounds despite a weight debacle in 2021, he wants Vettori to be standing across the cage. "I just said to let Dana White know. I'll fight him now. It's the only fight that interests me. No one else interests me. Unless if it's for the title, but I'm no fool. I'm not stupid to consider a title fight now. I want to fight him. He's the only viable guy that interests me. If it's not him, I'm not even interested in fighting. I let Dana White know that." Costa said his manager has reached out to the president of the UFC to inform him of his decision. Costa wants to fight again in April, and added, "If it's not Vettori, there's no one else in the UFC that interests me. I don't respect him. I want to end his life. He's an asshole, a fool. He had this win over me and thinks he's the man, but he's an asshole, a child. We see he's a goof. He can't even wear shorts the right way. There's a photo of him with his shorts backward, and he still thinks he's the man. But I'll fight him again. I mean, at least I plan to. I'm not saying I want to fight Vettori because he took my place in the ranking. It's not about that. I have to fight him. I have to erase this loss. I want to leave him sidelined for at least a year after the beating I give him. I want to hurt him. I'm angry." Costa isn't opposed to re-signing with the UFC in the future, but wants to explore the market first, and that could include boxing. Aljamain Sterling doesn't necessarily disagree with Sean O'Malley when it comes to how the UFC picks its pay-per-view headliners. He just doesn't see that as his fault. O'Malley drew headlines when he said undisputed champ Sterling and interim title holder Peter Yan weren't big enough stars to carry UFC 272 following the scratch of featherweight headliner Alexander Volkanovski versus Chan Sung Jung, which prompted the promotion to move the matchups to UFC 273, with the bantamweights slotted as the co-main event. Headlining the UFC 272 event now is a rare non-title fight between welterweight rivals Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, which lends credence to O'Malley's point. But Sterling initially dismissed Sean's statement as uncalled for given his competitive resume, which in 2020 was marred by a high-profile loss to Marlon Vera, and otherwise features several favorable matchups. O'Malley's going to do what O'Malley does, which is just talk. He talks a big game, but we've come to find out that he's a lot of talk, a lot of bark and no bite. The last time he tried to bite off more than he can chew, what happened? He did the broke leg dance. I don't know what he's on, and again, I know that was a kick that could have never had that impact, but it did. And guess what? You had your shot, and you blew it. We all get opportunities. You had an opportunity, and you blew it. The UFC didn't give me those opportunities to fight tailor-made matchups when I came up. I fought. My third UFC fight, I fought a guy who was ranked 6th in the world, and ever since then, I have not left the UFC's top 10 of ranked contenders, and guys that were within the top 10 and top 5. It has to be a little bit more about the metrics. I'm pretty sure that if it was just Sean O'Malley and a bunch of other guys that are up and coming, and not really any type of notoriety, people aren't paying $75 to watch Sean O'Malley fight either. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about in that regard.